What if joy does not feel the way you expected it would feel? What if joy is not laughing all day, feeling excited about every morning, or suddenly forgetting everything that happened to you? For a woman who has lived with trauma for decades, joy may not arrive with fireworks. It may arrive quietly. It may feel like taking a deep breath without fear. It may feel like sitting in a peaceful room and not waiting for someone or something to happen bad. It may feel like saying no without guilt. It may feel like realizing your past did not control your whole day. And sometimes joy can feel so unfamiliar that you almost do not trust it. In this video, I want to share 3 biblical truths about what joy actually feels like after trauma, and why joy can initially feel uncomfortable, and how you can begin recognizing the quiet ways God may already be restoring joy in your life. Because joy is not pretending that nothing happened. Joy is discovering that what happened does not get to own everything that remains. Welcome to Awake to Joy. I'm Annette, your safe harbor here where we can finally heal and find lasting peace. On this channel, we talk honestly about healing from childhood sexual abuse through the hope and through truth of Jesus Christ. And today, we're talking about joy, not the fake kind, not the forced kind, not the kind where someone tells you, just smile and be grateful. We're talking about the kind of joy that can grow even in a life that has known deep pain. So why joy can feel confusing after trauma? Well, many survivors have spent years believing joy should feel big. We imagine it should feel like excitement or energy or laughter or celebration. And sometimes it does. But trauma affects the way we experience safety. And when your body and mind have spent years watching for danger, peace can feel strange. And you may finally have a quiet day, and instead of enjoying it, you begin to look around and you start to forget, and you start wondering, who's upset with me? What's about to go wrong? And you may feel guilty for enjoying yourself. And some survivors have an unspoken belief that if they relax, something bad's going to happen. Or they may believe that happiness is disrespectful to what they endured. So when joy begins to appear, the first feeling may not be excitement. It may be this discomfort that's going through you. You may think, can I trust this? That does not mean you are rejecting God's goodness. It means your heart and nervous system have been trained by survival. And healing often means learning that peace does not always have a hidden price attached to it. So principle number 1, joy is not the absence of pain. Psalms 35 says, weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. And that verse does not deny the night. It does not say the weeping was unnecessary. It does not say faithful person should never feel grief. It says grief and joy can exist within the same story. This is important because many women believe they must finish grieving before they are allowed to experience joy. They think, when I stop having painful memories, then I'll have joy. And when I completely understand what happened, then I'll have joy. When I forgive perfectly, then I can have joy. When I'm never triggered again, then I can have joy. But joy is not always waiting at the end of healing. Sometimes joy meets us in the middle of it. You could have a painful memory and still notice something beautiful. You can grieve the childhood you lost and still laugh with a grandchild. You can feel less sadness in the morning and peace by the afternoon. And you could have tears in your eyes and gratitude in your heart, all at the same time. Those emotions do not cancel each other out. We're complicated human beings. And some days we can cry and laugh and lose our glasses and find them on top of our head and still call it a productive day. Biblical joy does not require you to deny your pain. Jesus himself wept. Jesus experienced sorrow and he knew betrayal. Isaiah described him as a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. And yet Hebrews 12:2 speaks of the joy set before him. Jesus shows us that sorrow and joy are not always enemies. Pain may be present without being in charge. That's an important distinction. Joy does not mean I never hurt. Joy can mean my hurt is not the only truth in the room. A few years ago, I found myself walking through a particularly difficult season with some family relationships. And as I began learning more, not only about my own childhood abuse, but some of my family members and the trauma that they went through and how it affected their family members, I found myself thinking about it constantly. I would replay conversations in my mind and I would think about what happened to me and what happened to them and all the way those wounds had affected us all over the years. And honestly, it began to consume my thoughts. And I wanted answers, I wanted healing, and I wanted peace. But I also realized something very difficult. I could not change the past. And one day, before my husband was going to join me later, I decided to take the boat out, spend a couple hours fishing by myself. Now, many of you know that fishing is one of my favorite places to spend time with God. And as I sat there on the water, I remember praying very honestly, Lord, this is too heavy for me. I can't carry all of this. I can't fix what happened to me. I can't fix what happened to the other people. I can't go back and change any of it. You're going to have to carry this because I can't. And then I just sat there. I cast my line into the water. I watched the water. I listened to the sounds around me and I noticed the breeze and I talked with God. And somewhere during those couple of hours, something shifted. Not dramatically. There was no fireworks. I didn't have some emotional breakthrough. In fact, I didn't even realize it happened at first. What I eventually noticed was that I had stopped thinking about the pain. I was simply enjoying being there. I was enjoying God's creation. I was enjoying the fishing. And I found myself looking forward to my husband arriving so we could spend the rest of the evening together on the water. I remember realizing afterwards almost a surprise. Wait a minute, I was happy. Not the loud, exciting kind of happy. Not the kind that erases all the hard things, but a quiet, peaceful kind of joy. I could feel it in my body. I could feel it in my bones, and my shoulders had relaxed and wasn't scanning for danger, and I wasn't rehearsing conversations, and I wasn't trying to solve problems I couldn't solve. I was just simply present. And that's when I began to understand something I had never fully understood before. I used to think joy was announcing itself. I thought I would wake up one day and feel completely different. But joy did not always come loudly. Sometimes it came as a peaceful hour. Sometimes it came as laughter. Sometimes it came when I realized I had been enjoying myself without thinking about the past. And I began to understand that quiet joy is still joy. Now, principle number 2. Joy often feels like safety before it feels like happiness. And says, peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. We often separate peace and joy, but for a survivor, peace may be one of the first forms of joy takes. Joy may feel like not needing to scan the room. Joy may feel like sleeping a little bit better. Joy may feel like being around someone and not feeling the need to perform. Joy may feel like speaking honestly and discovering that the relationship survived. Joy may feel like being able to rest without calling yourself lazy. Joy may feel like realizing you do not have to solve everybody else's problems. For many survivors, safety is joyful because safety was once missing. And that means your joy may look ordinary to someone else, but it is not ordinary to you. A peaceful meal may be joy. A healthy boundary may be joy. A calm drive home may be joy. A Sunday afternoon with no conflict may be joy. Being able to sit in silence without feeling frightened may be joy. You do not have to compare your joy with someone else's personality. Some people express joy loudly. They sing, they dance, they may nearly injure innocent bystanders while waving their hands and doing worship. Other people experience joy quietly. They sit with God, they breathe deeply, they smile, they feel settled. Both can be real. Your joy does not have to look dramatic to be genuine. Galatians 5:22 tells us that joy is a fruit of the Spirit, and fruit grows. It does not normally explode on the branch overnight. It develops slowly. It needs nourishment. It matures over time. And sometimes the growth is happening before you can even see it. You may be more joyful than you realize right now. You may simply be looking for the wrong evidence. Now, signs that joy may already be growing, well, let me give you a few signs. Joy may be growing if you're beginning to look forward to something. You feel more comfortable saying what you need. You notice beauty again. You're laughing more freely. You're less controlled by someone else's opinion. You're learning to rest. You're becoming more curious about life. You're enjoying your own company. You are feeling less ashamed of who you are. You're able to thank God for one good thing without pretending everything is good. You may not call those things joy, but they may be the early fruit of joy. Do not overlook the small beginnings. Zechariah 4:10 warns against despising the small things. A small moment of joy is not insignificant. It's the evidence that trauma is losing territory. Now, principle number 3, joy is not something you have to force. Nehemiah 8:10 says, the joy of the Lord is your strength. It does not say your personality is strength. It does not say your ability to stay cheerful is your strength. It does not say pretending everything is fine is your strength. It says the joy of the Lord is your strength. God does not ask you to manufacture joy. He invites you to receive it. There's a difference between choosing joy and forcing happiness. And choosing joy may mean choosing to notice God's presence. Choosing joy may mean allowing yourself to enjoy something good. Choosing joy may mean refusing to let shame ruin a peaceful moment. Choosing joy may mean saying, today is difficult, but that's not all there is. Forced happiness says, I'm not allowed to feel sad. Biblical joy says, I can feel sad and still be held by God. Forced happiness says, I must smile so other people will be comfortable. But biblical joy says, I can be honest and still have hope. Forced happiness says, if I were a stronger Christian, I would never struggle. But biblical joy says, God meets me in the struggle. You do not have to perform for God. He knows the truth. You cannot surprise him with your emotions. And he's not standing in heaven saying, I had no idea she felt this way. Psalms 56:8 says that God keeps track of our sorrows and collects our tears. The God who values our tears can also restore your joy. You do not have to rush the process. There is another reason joy can feel uncomfortable. Joy makes us feel vulnerable. When you care about something, you can be lost. When you love someone, you can be hurt. When life feels good, you may fear disappointment. For some survivors, protect themselves by staying emotionally guarded. They think, if I do not hope, I can't be disappointed. If I don't get too happy, the fall will not hurt as much. If I expect the worst, I'll be prepared. That strategy may have helped you survive, but it can also prevent you from fully receiving today. You may not be able to guarantee tomorrow. None of us can. But you can receive the grace God gives you today. Psalms 118:24 says, this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. It doesn't say every part of the day will be easy. It says the day itself is still a gift. Joy after trauma may be the courage to receive a good moment without demanding a guarantee that nothing painful will ever happen again. That is brave. Now, 3 ways to practice recognizing joy. I want to give you 3 simple practices. not a complicated program, not another list that makes you feel behind, just 3 gentle ways to notice joy. Name one moment of peace. At the end of the day, when did I feel most peaceful today? Perhaps it was 5 minutes. Perhaps it was during prayer. Perhaps it was in the car. Perhaps it was when you stepped outside. Name it. Thank God for it. Don't dismiss it because it was small. Number 2, let a good moment last a little longer. When something feels peaceful or enjoyable, pause. Don't rush past it. Take a breath. Notice what you see. Notice what you hear. Say, Lord, thank you for this moment. Sometimes survivors rush through good moments because we're so accustomed to prepare for the next problem. Practice staying for a few extra seconds. And number 3, stop apologizing for healthy joy. You do not need to apologize for laughing. You do not need to feel guilty for enjoying your life. And you do not need permission from people who benefit from your silence. Healthy joy is not selfish. It is part of healing. Jesus said in John 15:11, I have told you this so that my joy might be in you and that your joy may be complete. Jesus desires joy for you, not denial, not performance, not shallow positivity. A joy rooted in his presence. So let me be very clear. Joy does not mean you will never need help. Joy does not mean every relationship is going to be restored. Joy does not mean you must reconcile with unsafe people. Joy does not mean you no longer need boundaries. Joy does not mean your memories disappear. Joy does not mean you have failed when you have a difficult day. A hard day does not erase your healing. A trigger does not cancel your progress, and tears do not mean joy is gone. You can have deep joy and still rest. You can trust God and still talk with a counselor. You can forgive and still keep a distance. You can love Jesus and still experience grief. Joy is not the absence of human emotion. Joy is the presence of hope within that human emotion. So, what does joy actually feel like after trauma? It may be feeling quieter than you expected. It may feel like safety. It may feel like relief. It may feel like freedom from guilt. It may feel like a peaceful morning. It may feel like laughing without immediately silencing yourself. It may feel like being able to say, I'm okay in this moment. It may feel like enjoying the water, the sky, a cup of tea, a conversation, a prayer, or the sound of your own laughter. It may feel small at first, but small does not mean unimportant. And every moment of healthy joy is a reminder you are still alive. You are still becoming. God is still restoring. The trauma did not win. In the comments, please complete this sentence. Today, joy feels like, and put your answer. It may feel like peace. It may feel like rest. It may feel like laughter, prayer, safety, a quiet morning. You do not need to share anything about your private trauma. Just name one simple way joy is beginning to appear in your life. Subscribe to Awake to Joy and share this video with someone you know who needs to hear it. You're not too old to experience joy, and you're not too broken to receive peace. God is not finished with your story. Remember, because He lives, it does change everything.